tossers have thrown it out the door with their behaviour this week. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely look at themselves in the mirror and wonder what the have they been doing. They're hissing at us and calling us cheats in the Lord's long room, and they have the gall to say, talk to us about the spirit of cricket. Absolute bullshit.
There's a big appeal that's hit him on the pad. He's out. Lions gone. New South Wales are 9 down. Onto Sydney Road, and it's hit a car. Oh, I think it's hit a car. What a way to bring up your 50.
All you want is to leave it all behind. Now there is a simple remedy to stay fit for all eternity.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. I am Menners. This is the longest running cricket podcast in Australia, and we are coming to you straight after play has ended on day one of the Adelaide Test, the third Ashes Test match, and Australia won the toss and they finished today 8 for 326. Alex Carey, the star, with a brilliant 106 in front of his adoring home crowd. Usman Khawaja, who got a late reprieve, made a nice 82 batting at number 4. And I'll talk to Gav, and I'm joined by Gav. Joshy, Gav, how are you?
I'm good, Menners. Yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Look, before we get into wrapping up the day's play, the podcast took the beginning of this week off due to the tragic events in Sydney that happened on Sunday nights. And obviously, I'm a proud Sydney sider, and my thoughts go out to all the victims, the families, the Jewish community. And, you know, it is with a heavy heart, I think, that this test match is being played because Australia has undergone a horrific incident. And there was, you know, beautiful scenes, a touching tribute at the beginning of the day. John Williamson sung True Blue. The national anthems had a little bit more passion to them, a little bit more meaning, a little bit more feeling in the context of what's happened. So, you know, I didn't feel like talking about cricket for the last 2 days, but we're back. The Ashes are back. They're going, and here we are, Gav. And so after the day's play, 8 for 326, I sort of think England may be shaded today because it looks to me a 450 plus wicket. Australia threw their wickets away. They never quite got on top and made that big partnership to really take advantage. So I sort of think advantage England sort of 60-40. What do you think?
Yeah, this looks like a very much the Adelaide Oval pitch from, say, maybe 10 odd years ago. Sort of, you know, before we went to the day-night test, I think 2015, I think it was. So if you look at that 2014 test match, and I've got a photo of it, and it had same mill of grass against India, and it turned out to be a batting paradise, which got footmarks at the end and the ball spun viciously. And it looks like that sort of pitch where, you know, you got to score around sort of, you know, that 450, as you said, 500 mark. So I think this is when I say traditional Adelaide Oval pitch, it's pretty good for batting. Well, you know, under day-night test match, of course, more grass left on it. So yeah, I think England just slightly on top, but I'll be very, you know, like Mitchell Starc and Nathan Lyon still got to pick up 2 wickets. We saw what happened at the Gabba. If they had another sort of, you know, 40 even tomorrow and get Australia over around that 370 mark, then, well, you know, England have to bat last on that pitch. Then they have to score 470, 500, which just puts them under pressure. If Australia is restricted to 350, then, you know, if England can score that 400 or even 450, they're still a little bit ahead of the game. So, yeah, I think slightly England's day.
Yeah, I like it. Just on the pitch and everything, you're right. You know, England have to bat last, so maybe the ball is going to turn a lot. The one in Australia, when we bowl tomorrow, Cummins, Starc, Boland and Lyon, you can't imagine them bowling some of the trash that was served up today. That's the other thing. England didn't deserve to take 8 wickets. Australia just gifted them 8 wickets. That bowling deserved 1 or 2 of those wickets. Australia should be like 2 for 450 just on the way England bowled. I mean, that's the thing. It was just crazy cricket. And we'll go through some of those events today. But let's start with the beginning of the day, because with crazy news that Steve Smith was suffering vertigo again and would miss the test match. There were scenes of him walking away, having a little discussion with Smith, with Cummins and McDonald, and then walking away looking very Khawaja, who I was going to start the show today by talking about how Usman Khawaja's test career is over. He was dropped for this test match. Well, he got a last-minute reprieve, so he wasn't originally picked, and then he came in to replace Steve Smith at number 4. He was suffering that vertigo, and I was very surprised. Some of the commentators on Fox were saying, "Oh, if Khawaja comes in, he has to open. That's where he's made his runs."
No.
That's so silly. Most of Khawaja's career has been spent in the middle order, at domestic and international. Last little period, he opened the batting. So I thought it was the right decision, Gav, to put Khawaja in. You lose the experienced Smith. You can't bring in Webster. So Khawaja batting at 4, it was a perfect like-for-like replacement. And when I saw
100%, I agree with you.
When I saw him being picked, I knew he'd score runs, because last-minute reprieve, it's his sort of pitch, flat pitch, good for batting, and he cashed in. So, quite a big turnaround for having Smith out, obviously averaging almost 60 at test level. You just can't replace that. So I'm sure that's a huge boost for England. Also, Australia have Cummins and Lyon back for Neser and Doggett. And for England, Tung came in for Atkinson. I was surprised Atkinson got the boot. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought he's been England's best bowler, or on par with Archer. Just has been unlucky. I thought, but I think they looked at the weather and they thought, well, who's the guy who's just going to come and bowl all day, even if he gets stumped? It's Brighton Cast, and Stokes loves him. He thinks he's the, he bowls the donkey overs even. And we saw Stokes continue with him, despite, I think he had figures of, 450 odd at the Gabba. So I think that's the reason why. And I think Tung has got this ability to knock the tail over. I thought he bowled really well. I thought he was probably, yes, Archer was exceptional, but I still felt Tung created more opportunities than even Archer did. I just felt like. And you mentioned Australian batters throwing their wickets away. The only real chance that England probably created was the one of Usman Khawaja, and it was dropped by Harry Brook. I thought that was a genuine, because they built pressure nicely up to that point. But yeah, it was surprising. No surprise with Khawaja. Just last time he got a reprieve, he was batting that middle order, was, the Ashes series a few years back in Sydney when Travis Head got COVID. And that pitch was a belter too. So, look, little things go your way in the career, don't they, Menners? Like, it's not it wasn't down in Hobart when the last Ashes came about. It wasn't, in Perth that he's got a reprieve. It's got a reprieve on a good flat batting pitch. And I think his mindset just changed when he got dropped. Like, when I think he was on 4 off like about 30 odd balls or 28 balls. And he said, this could be my last dig here. What am I doing scratching around? Let's play a few shots. And I just thought, he got into his groove. He knew where to hit the ball in these kind of pitches. You mentioned not just flat pitch. If there's lack of pace in it, I think Khawaja's okay. I think, and he's able to handle it. But I think once the ball sort of zips around and you've got someone bowling at 145, I think that's where he gets into trouble. So. But I think this pitch is going to turn, Menace. I think it's going to turn. It might be slow turn, and then I think footmarks are going to play a big role. So I think Nathan Lyon's going to be really important for Australia.
Yeah. I just wonder if Australia have just let England off the hook today with not making a really big score. It's going to be almost 40 degrees tomorrow in Adelaide. It would have been great if Australia could have kept England out in the field for a day and a half and around. So let's go through the day's play. Australia started positively. Obviously, Cummins won the toss in his return to the captaincy, elected to bat. I thought that was the sensible thing to do. It looked like a bat first track. Go out there, the ball, and as you say, bowl last with Nathan Lyon. And Jake Weatherald and Travis Head got the team off to a pretty good start. They got to 33. Weatherald was on 18. And then the first of the soft dismissals, sort of a half pull shot off Archer, just tucked him up and he was caught behind. The ball just bobbled up and the wicketkeeper took a very simple catch. Weatherald had been roughed up. He'd been hit on the head by Cass just before that. And so, again, soft dismissal for Weatherald. And then next over, Head was out, drawing one off Cass, caught it cover, good catch by Crawley diving to his left, and that had Australia 2 for 33. And all of a sudden, after looking in control, we lost 2 quick wickets, and that brought Khawaja to the crease in the 10th over. And as you say, we would have been 3 for 50 had Brooke taken that catch. And a bit of a sliding doors moment for England. If they don't win this test match, they will regret maybe not bowling out Australia for 250 today and, taking that catch, putting the pressure on. But, what did you make of that opening sort of hour? Because England bowled. Yeah, and you say Archer bowled. You say Archer bowled well. I don't think he bowled badly, but he feels to me that he's just running up and putting the ball there.
I agree. I thought Josh Tongue was England's best bowler today. I think he created more wicket. He bowled more wicket-taking deliveries than Archer did. I think Australia was just content. Let's just sit back on Archer and let's not try too much. Because if he's bowling at 145, history has shown that 38-degree or 36-degree day, these last spells, he's probably going to bowl around 130. So I think Australia were just a little bit cautious as well. But again, banging the ball halfway down the pitch. How many drives did you see? But the first drive had tried to put into place. I think the ball just sort of stopped and he hit it up in the air. I just back of the length bowling. And a lot of people there going, why is that back of the length bowling? Well, in Australia, that back of the length, when you pitch it around that 7-meter mark or 8-meter mark, it goes over the stumps. It's comfortable. You can play a cut shot. In England, that's probably hitting just on top of off stump. So it's actually considered a decent length. You look historically and the lengths, Anderson and Broad have bowled, and they're around that 7-meter, 8-meter length. And you'll watch Australia tomorrow, and apart from Scotty Boland, who bowls a little bit back of the length, but he's a lot shorter and skiddier. I think you'll see Cummins bowl around that 6-meter mark and make Australia drive, and that's where I think we still don't. Yeah, I still don't know. We don't know how much this pitch can do, because England just, like you said, I think they've wasted the new ball again today.
Yeah, Head probably the only one that didn't throw his wicket away. Just a bit of a mistimed drive, good catch. But then you're right. Khawaja, after getting dropped on 5, you're right, cut loose, and he and Marnus looked really good together. They played a lot of cricket together for Queensland, played a lot of games together at the top of the order, and Australia got to lunch 2 for 94 after losing those 2 wickets, and that was off 24 overs. Khawaja 41 off 55. He'd been the aggressor. They'd brought on Jacks a bit before lunch, and he'd taken 19 off 39. And you were at this stage thinking, okay, Australia's in a pretty good position here, but then the first 3 balls after lunch could be decisive in this test match. Marnus' first ball after lunch just swivels and just doesn't even change it to mid-wicket off Archer. Yeah, he's out. First ball after lunch.
And a lot of talk Marnus has been the intent he's shown throughout this whole summer. And if you watch some of those Shield highlights, and if you watch some of that was his go-to shot. That's his go-to shot. Back at the length, which is off stump. You know what? I'm just sitting back. I'm just going to try hammer that. Not hammer it, but just get it away. You see that 100 he got at the Adelaide Oval, I think, Queensland, South Australia. A lot of his runs came in that manner. That's his getaway shot. When he feels pressure, he's going to sit back and play that shot. We saw it in Brisbane as well. He played that shot a couple of times. So I think that's his, and I think it resulted in his downfall. Now, he's probably, he's disgusted with it. But if he's going to bat with more intent, then he's going to play one of those shots that's going to lead to his downfall. Cameron Green, he just played, a bit too early. Really good catch. Maybe he was just up all night as the IPL figure alongside his name, which is going up. But,
just on Marnus, though. The thing is, he's played enough Test cricket to know you don't play that the ball after lunch. You get used to the pitch,
Yeah,
especially someone like Archer. You never know if he's going to bowl 135 or 145. You want to have a look at a couple before playing the shot, rather than first ball after lunch. You just mistime
yeah.
it. I mean, you completely
I think
mistime
it
it.
was just. I think it's just setting the tone, and that's the mindset that Marnus is in at the moment. We've seen him play, cover drives, which he hasn't done the last couple of summers. Suddenly he's come out and sees some that back of the length, and he's like, "Oh, that's easy on this pitch. I'm just going to whip it for a couple of runs," and then straight away England go, "Oh dear, we bowled short." So yeah, you can be super critical of him, but I think because of his change in his mindset to score runs, but yeah, Cameron Green's one's really disappointing as well. So I don't know, but where this stands, I mean, if Australia is to lose this Test match and Green doesn't score runs in the second second dig, I mean, there's got to be some question. He's played 35 Test matches now, Menace. That's a lot. Like, but you had someone like Greg Blewett commentating, and Greg Blewett had what? He scored
40 odd Test
700s, I
matches.
think, and a couple of 99s. Picked up some handy wickets, but only ended up playing a 43 or 44 Tests. So, and he was batting up the top order, like number 3 or opening the batting. So where does that put Cameron Green? I think there's got to be a few question marks asked. If it's a smooth sailing series, I don't think he's under pressure. But if Australia do go down here, I mean, there might be a few questions asked.
I think there's a legitimate argument now. Is Bo Webster a better Test all-rounder at the moment than Cameron Green? In the small sample size we saw of Bo Webster, he looks good in the bat with the bat in middle order. He can bat at 6, great catcher. Not the class, I think, with the ball that Green has, but can bowl more overs, can bowl off spin. I just think there's a legitimate selection decision now that if you're pitting all-rounder versus all-rounder, maybe Webster deserves more of an opportunity. Green's 26. I think maybe he needs a couple more years development.
Well, not just that, I also feel that what if Australia is to lose this game and Khawaja does well in the second innings, Green doesn't? What happens for Boxing Day? We're just speculating here. We're just talking about.
I don't think they're the same. I don't think they're the same because I think Australia definitely will want an all-rounder for back-to-back Test matches.
Yeah, that's where Green goes
to me, it comes down to Webster and Green.
Yeah, I
just going to stay in it. It'd be for Inglis. But, Green went for 4.2 million AU last night in the IPL and then got out for a second ball duck. The thing is, again, a bit like Marnus, that's a lazy shot, sort of falling over early. It's not a ball and you just flick it straight to mid-wicket. So that's two, so if you look at the 4 dismissals at that point, 3 of them were given away by Australia. So, we're 4 for 94 now on a good batting pitch, and England are bowled shit. They don't deserve 4 wickets. Then there was a good counter. Alex Carey joined Usman Khawaja, and they batted really well together, got the score to 4 for 146 at Drinks. Carey was looking good. Usman was looking good. And he did the smart thing. They brought Will Jacks on, and Khawaja, who's been struggling against the quicks, I'm going to take this guy on. And he made 50 off 81 balls. And he and Carey put on 50 off just 66 balls. So it was a good counter attack. Lots of no balls from Cass at this stage. It's leaking runs, but Khawaja looks set for his 17th century. He's out holing out to mid-wicket off Jacks, sweeping out 82 off 126. Now, good innings, but the player was in the deep, so he did kind of give his wicket away, and that broke a 91-run partnership. And at that point, they didn't look bothered at all. It looked like they could make it a big partnership, 150, 200, and really take the game away. And Australia were 5 for 185, and then went to tea 5 190 with Inglis and Carey not out. And so at this stage, you have to say still pretty even in that session. Australia scored 3 for 100, losing 3 wickets, scoring 100 runs in 26 overs. So just when it looked like play, England would get a wicket. They would just a soft wicket from Australia, and it would keep them back in the game. So, what did you think of Khawaja's innings? I mean, that was That was
Yeah, I think it
fairy
was
tale
quite
stuff.
smart as well. I mean, it was an experienced batter's innings. If you look, England bowling around the wicket, sort of putting 2 or 3 mid wickets in at time, bowling at the stumps, just waited, and then as soon as they bowled, he knew the pace of the pitch. He knows about his game. Just sort of, went back and just opened the face of and started guiding the ball around that gully area, just opening the face to, cut it behind square. That was really good batting. So I thought it was a guy who just knows his game inside out. It was a good learning lesson. Like if the opposition ever choke you to your strengths, how do you open up on the other side of the field and sort of grind it out, and then you just and then you take on the spinner. So I thought it was just a guy who just knows how to bat in Test cricket. I thought that was a good thing. Alex Carey, I thought he started really well. You can tell that this England team is just not accurate, because if you've got an accurate bowling lineup, you can bowl literally, a good 45-minute period. If you've got 3 paces bowling around the wicket to Alex Carey, you're a very strong chance for getting him out. The way his bat comes down. But England just, went away for that after 20 minutes because they're just not consistent, which is the problem. And then, after tea, that's where they sort of got away. Carr started, so went sort of over the wicket to Carey, but that's hitting through his, giving him space to free his arms, and he just played some beautiful shots.
Yeah, after tea, he played beautifully, brought up his 50 of 75 balls. It's actually on 52, he was dropped, cast diving to his left in sort of cover. It was a very tough, low chance. But at that point, Carey went into the lead as the leading Test run scorer in the calendar year for Australia. So, great year for Carey with the bat, scored that magnificent 100 in Gaul, and then eventually added another 100. But he and Inglis were together. They batted well, put on 59, but then your man Tongue got Inglis out for 32 off 39. Inglis, but he was just playing back, sort of let the open face of the bat, and the ball, played onto middle stump, and that had Australia 6 for 244. And look, I like Inglis, but that's frustrating. He's got a few starts now at Test level and hasn't gone on with it. He had ability, doesn't he, sometimes to just squander a good start.
Yeah, he does. But, it was a crucial partnership again. Carey at 6. Should Inglis be at 6? I mean, Carey's probably said no with his knock. But, I think England just, I think Tongue, he deserved that wicket. And I think he could have had 3 or 4 today. I thought he was England's best bowler. But once again, after that, we spoke about this. Pat comes to the crease, and he adds that 30-run partnership. He'll only go down the scorebook as Cummins scoring 15, but there was 30, 35 he added. And that's what we spoke about start of the series. That every time Cummins comes into bat, there's always a 30, 35-run partnership. That we just, on scoreboard, it just looks like he gets 15, but he gets those 35 runs, which is so important. Instead of 8 for 326, it could have been sort of 9 for 290.
Yeah, that's right. England couldn't land the killer blow, but it's like in last Test, Australian partnership made 100. So I think it's 10 partnerships of 50 or more for Australia in the last Test and this Test so far, with none of them going on to make 100. So, England have sort of been nipping at them through Australian mistakes. But so Cummins is out. Cummins was out for 13, caught it short leg. Australia 7 for 271. And then Carey brought up his 3rd Test century of 135 balls. It's his first Ashes ton. And, he looked to the heavens because he lost his father in September. It was an emotional moment for him. His father died of leukemia. So Carey could see paying tribute to his late father. And, you think of all the contempt and the ridicule he's been subjected to by the English fans and the Barmy Army after the wholly legitimate Bairstow dismissal, and now he scores a famous 100. And Australia needed that 100, Gav, because we get rock and rolled for under 300 in these conditions, and it's a disaster. So fantastic innings from Carey. I actually didn't think could be this good a batter at test level, but he has developed a lot in the last few years, Gav. You must admit it's been quite striking.
It had. In fact, everyone, Alex Kerr is probably in the form of his life leading into the summer last year, but I think he got boomerowed a few times, as many of the Australians did last summer. So it's been interesting. Look, and like you talk about Mitchell Johnson, always felt if he's bowling well, he'll do well with the bat. Like it became sort of that into the sort of the all-rounder categories. It's same, like amazing. Whenever the keeper is keeping well, anyone that they tend to, it sort of reflects with their bat, and that's what Kerry. Stark was outstanding, but he was sort of my man of the match, if you can say, at Gabba for his keeping. And you've seen it today as well. And I think he's going to play an important role again behind the stumps, because given the way the pitch is, I think he might even be keeping up to like Scotty Boland on this track. So, look terrific. I don't know how many. How many have there been any South Australian wicket keepers who've scored 100 in the Ashes? I don't know. Tim Nielsen was probably one, never got 100, but was one played one Test match. I'm not sure how many years we have to go back apart from that. But yeah, like it's quite amazing.
Yeah, no, terrific innings. And unfortunately, he was out just 20 minutes before stumps for 106, trying to slog sweep Jacks. He was out, caught, and that has straight 8 for 321, 50 partnership with Ian Stark. Stark continues his good form with the bat. So Australia finished today 8 for 326. Stark is 33 not out. Lyon is a 0 not out of 18 balls. And as I said, the top scorer is Kerry 106, Khawaja 82. The bowling figure is not good for England. Jofra Archer, 16 overs, 3 for 29. But even when he came on right at the end of the day to bowl some overs, he just looked to be wrecked. He's just not match fit. You just can't get him out. Cast 13 overs, 2 for 70, just all over the place, 6 no balls. Josh Tongue, 15 overs, 1 for 63, Gav's bowler of the day. Ben Stokes, 19 overs, none for 53. As usual, pretty on the money. And then Will Jacks, 20 overs, 2. Doesn't look threatening. You wonder whether they should have played Bashir, but in the end, got 2 wickets. Australia gifted him a couple of wickets. But you have to say Jacks does look, they all look a weak league, but he doesn't look like a good selection with the ball.
Yeah, you hope if you're playing Will Jacks, he's probably done a job in the sense that he's taken 2 wickets. But if he's batting at number 8, well, firstly, the tail needs to bat with it. But you probably expect, if he's batting at 8 and say England tomorrow are on par with Australian score when Will Jacks comes to wicket, you hope the benefit of playing Jacks is to get that 100-run lead or 80-run lead. And I think it's important because, like I said, I think if the pitch turns, and how are England going to take wickets in their second innings? We'll come to that. I'm sure you will in the next couple of days. That's assuming they bat okay. I mean, everything that's going on tour, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, this looks like a Harry Brook track." Well, Harry Brook can't even see the ball; it slips at the moment. So we'll wait and see. But look, I as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, I don't know how England are going to pick up another 10 wickets on this pitch, given what we saw today. So they really have to bat well. Like I think by 6 p.m. tomorrow, Australia, if they bowl well and England continue to bat like they have, I think we could have one hand on the Ashes.
Well, it's a very good point, because I was just thinking about it. So I think to say 13, 14, a day test in the Ashes. Again, similar situation. Australia had batted first, and I thought they were unders. And then Mitchell Johnson just came out and destroyed England. There is going to be pace and bounce on the pitch tomorrow. Australia will use better than English bowlers did. So, Australia end the day 8 for 326. Australia will be looking to stretch that first innings as long as possible and then get stuck into the English batting lineup. But England, quite simply, they need to be batting sort of midway through day 3. They want any chance in this series.
Well, if England lose 8 wickets tomorrow, they probably need to be around 400. Otherwise, they're probably gone. The ideal scenario for England is probably lose 6 wickets, and they're probably about, say, 40, 50 ahead. But look, I don't think the outfield is as quick as you think. But the short boundaries, they're going to be advantageous to this basketball game where the hooking and pulling. But look, I mean, Cummins is back. I think it's a big test. I mean, we know what Cummins provides. He'll always get Australia that breakthrough. So that's going to be a significant factor. In saying that, a couple of times when Cummins has been underdone, Australia has probably went on to lose the test match. So I think, and plus it is going to be 40 degrees. And I think it's going to be pretty much close to 34 degrees when they start at 10 a.m. So I think that's going to play a huge role.
Yeah, it'd be good for Australia to just eat up a bit more time tomorrow to give them a bit of reprieve from the heat. But what a day. It started in dramatic fashion with, the great Steve Smith ruled out. People have said, am I going to do a mea culpa for Usman Khawaja? I've never said he's like a terrible player. He's not good enough to be batting this level. I think this was the right selection at this time. You couldn't draft in McSweeney or someone at the last minute. So, I'm glad to see him scoring runs. Number 4, definitely a better spot for him. And in the end, though, this area, the hometown hero, normally it's Travis Head scoring the runs at the Adelaide Oval, but this time it was Alex Carey. So thanks for tuning into day 1 of our wrap from the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. Gav, thanks for joining me. Viewers, I'll be back after day 2 to all the action.